Holy, are you kidding me, Batman? There's practically nothing to do. Hello there and welcome back to Building the Boys. We now have issue 9 of Hachette's Build the Batman Tumbler, and this one is it's a bit of a joke, this one. So we get half the wheel in this one, but you're not using any of that. So we're using this one tiny piece and we're going to put 2 screws in it and we're done. That's it. That's everything we're going to be doing in this stage, which is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's wrong, but it's the economics of it. I would imagine at some point we're going to get some very big, expensive, heavy pieces, and this is how they justify it. They justify it by, in at least one of the issues, you're getting very little. This is just true of part work. So if you are new to this, don't be alarmed. I know this one's a bit of an insult. You're like, hold on, I got all of the wheel in one issue. I know, it's the economics of it, but it'll be all right, I promise you. So we will do the very little they have us doing in this one. We'll take a look at the parts. At the end of it, we're going back to Arkham Asylum, and we're going to be looking at one of Batman's lesser known villains. I mean, he's known, but not a lot's known about his origins, and a little bit more about the character. We'll be talking about that one later on. So if you haven't yet, please remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button. It helps us massively, and we will be building the Batmobile Tumbler all the way through to issue 120 when we can finally take to the streets of Gotham in this awesome machine. So let's get this done. It's not going to take long. Okay, so here is everything we get in number 9. Now, pay very close attention. So, we get this piece of the wheel, and we get this piece of the wheel. I know what you're thinking, are we building a wheel? No, bizarrely, we're not. Because we also get this tiny little part here, and 2 screws. That's it. That's what we get. So, you're not working on this part, you're not working on this part, you're using 2 of your 3 screws, and we're using this tiny little part here. It's an insult, it's an insult, it's an insult, but it is what it is. I mean, look, at least we're not doing this weekly, because if I waited 2 weeks for that, I'd be quite annoyed, but because we've got a nice pack of subscription parts, it's not so terrible, because we've had more to do. But yeah, if I waited 2 weeks for that, and then I had to wait 2 weeks more, to do the next part, I wouldn't have been impressed. But it is the economics of a part work. That's just the way this works. I mean, at some point, you're going to get a massive, great big lump of stuff that's worth way more than the cover price. And this is how you justify it, by getting things like that are way under the cover price. But this is just me bitching and whining. Let's just get this done, and then we're happy. So all we're going to do is we're going to pop this one in place on here, and we're going to put 2 AP screws to hold it in place. That's it. That's all we're doing. So let's get this one done. I mean, it's not as bad as some of the... I mean, Iron Man would have entire packs that were like this, where honestly, like every issue was like, that's it, 2 screws, you're done. And you could do an entire pack in about 5 minutes. We've had a lot to do in this one, really. So it's not the end of the world. It's not. But again, if I was doing this weekly and this is what turned up, would not have been a happy bunny. But it's okay. It's okay. So here's screw number 2. That's in there. Let's leave it so we can turn it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all there is to do in stage 9. I'm not even kidding. That is it. Let's have a chat. So we're done, that's it, and under 2 minutes. So issue 9 takes, that's ridiculous. That's a bit of an insult, but it is what it is. It's the economics of a part work. It's just the way it works. At some point, we're going to get big servo motors and things like that. They're worth a lot more than the cover price. This is how they justify it. It's just the way it works. I mean, that's only one. I think out of everything we've done so far, we've had quite a healthy build this month. But that was very Iron Man. So if you ever watched the Iron Man build, there were whole packs where it was like, done, and that was the entire pack. So I mean, I had like a month's worth that I could complete in under 8 minutes with Iron Man, which is ridiculous. This is only 1 part out of 4, so it's not the end of the world, is it? It is a means to an end. We're going to be attaching that later on, but it is what it is. It is what it is. If you're sticking around for the build instructions, I hope it helped. Put 2 screws in. Bye. But if you're sticking around for our Bat Talks, we are going back to Arkham's Asylum, our Rose Gallery, and we're going to be talking about Waylon Jones. Who's Waylon Jones? Well, you might know him as another name. Take a look at him, and you might know him under a different name altogether. The Killer Croc. That's what we know him as now. Now, Croc looks very different. So you see Croc now, that is how we know Killer Croc. We kind of know him, the kind of shirtless, big, hulking, reptilian-looking guy with all these razor-sharp teeth. He didn't used to look like that. He didn't used to look like that at all. When he started out as a character, he was a professional wrestler that worked for a traveling sideshow, like a circus. And he had a skin condition, which gave him a very scaly appearance. And it almost had like a gangrenous kind of like green hue to it. And he picked up the name Killer Croc. And he was a professional wrestler. And Killer Croc's a bit of a funny one because I love Killer Croc. I like the character. I just like the look of the character. I think is fantastic. The substance of the character is not really there because I'll be honest with you, Killer Croc is a glorified henchman. He's a step up from a henchman. It's all he ever has been. I know there are Croc fans out there, and I don't mean to anger you by that, but that's the reality. When they do the kind of mystery, which villain's doing this, it's never Killer Croc. Killer Croc kind of plays a character that is just very all about the muscle, that's it. So if a hole's been punched in the wall, Killer Croc. If some very intelligent, elaborate plan's been carried out, not Killer Croc. Killer Croc tends to end up being the hired heavy, which is why he was in the Suicide Squad, and he has had screen appearances, so he does feature in the first Suicide Squad movie. You don't see a lot of him, but he is in it, so he has had some screen time. I'd like to see a much larger version of Croc, a much more exaggerated version of Croc, similar to what you've seen in the pictures there, similar to what you get in the Arkham Asylum game. I'd like to see that on screen. But I don't know if you will, because I mean, typically with Batman movies, they're very high on, can we make it more real? Can we make it more real? So characters like Killer Croc and Clayface and Razorback and people, you don't Diamondback, so you don't really get to see them because they're not real enough for your Hollywood executive, which is bizarre because, I mean, if they had their way, Batman would literally pull out a magnum and just blow people's heads off because that's how real they want it. And I don't think people want real. I think if Marvel has proved anything, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is that people don't want real. People want as elaborate as you can get. So this obsession with turning Batman into kind of Punisher, which is what a lot of the film studios want to do, I've never really got. So we lose a lot of the more fantastical characters like your Killer Croc. But I do like Croc. I mean, another interesting thing with Croc as well, if you ever want like a good tear-up, if you want a good comic book fight, he's great for that. I mean, he's never really been a threat. Batman will whoop his ass, right? Killer Croc can deliver some fatal blows, and he is scary, and he does kind of spring out of nowhere. But ultimately, Batman will kick his ass. That's what's going to happen. Batman is going to mash him up. Either he'll outsmart him, or he will just straight beat his ass down. But Croc has had some legendary fights with Bane. We spoke about Bane before. And in the occasions that Bane and Batman, they don't get on. So Bane and Killer Croc don't get on. And they have had some amazing fights that some of them just ended in draws. But they're so evenly matched that they just knock bells out of each other. So you can get to see some really good Bane versus Croc matches are just fantastic. And it's always kind of, when they don't quite come to blows, you know it's gonna, and you're thinking, oh, come on, man. And we come so close to another Bane and Croc fight that hasn't happened. They're kind of teasing us with it. But I do love Killer Croc. Now, what happened was they accelerated his appearance. So there was a virus that would accelerate his condition. So all of a sudden he went from being just a scaly green human-like guy to became a lot more crocodilian, a lot more reptilian. And that's where he got that look from. And again, when the wipes happen and they change the continuity of things, Killer Croc's backstory changes a little, but ultimately it remains the same, that he was originally a wrestler called Waylon Jones. He is a human being. Might not look like one, but he is a human being. He's just got a very grotesque appearance caused by this condition, but then exacerbated by a kind of a virus that they manufactured to make him look more reptilian and crocodilian. Now, they have portrayed him with a tail before. I've never seen that in the comic books, but I know in some of the cartoons and action figures, they've put a tail on him, which is a bit weird. He has got slightly longer fingers and claws, But I've also seen where they've put like crocodile paws on him, on feet, on action figures. He never just had feet, because he is a guy. I mean, he's not a crocodile. So where the tail and all came from, I don't know. But they have made him look a little bit too crocodilian, because he's not a crocodile. That's it's just the name. He just looks a bit like a crocodile. But then they started trying to turn him into a crocodile, which is a bit weird. But he's a great character. He's a fantastic character. I mean, he's dumb as hell, and he is just the muscle. But what an impressive piece of muscle he is. He's just a great character. And again, one of my favourite things in the Arkham Asylum video games, if you played them, is anything that features Killer Croc was great fun. He's only an Easter egg in Arkham City, but he does scare the hell out of you when he flies at you. And in the first Arkham game, you got to walk ever so slowly across some planks, because if you disturb the water, Croc will spring out and just come charging at you. But my favourite version of Killer Croc is, I've got a PSVR headset, and you could play Arkham VR. And there's a way you can stand in front of the villain, show the villain standing in front of you. And you see Penguin and Joker gets up in your face. It's all quite freaky, but none so freaky as Killer Croc. When he's standing at 9 feet tall and he's towering over you, it's quite an experience to have Croc sort of looming down at you. It's amazing, it really is. But I love Killer Croc, I really do. And I really hope at some point, even if it's just an intro sequence to a Batman film, I'd like to see that. There's that many Batman villains. Just have him having to start the movie with an action sequence where he's just knocking the crap out of him and takes him back to Arkham. It would be nice to see. It would be nice to see a proper, full-on, cinematic, huge-scale Killer Croc and Batman just knocking the crap out of him. I'd like to see that, I really would. Or, oh man, to see a Bane versus Croc fight on the big screen. That'd be something special. I'd really like that. Anyway, that's all for this one. If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe. You can contact us at buildingtheboysoutlook.com. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice, and I will catch you very, very soon for issue 10, when we actually will be building the wheel. I will see you then.